On the profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the National President of the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria. He brought us up to speed on the several challenges workers are faced with in the sector. He also gave the union's position as regards the Orosayas report and how it affects Nigerian workers. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
It's been a long while we've spoken.
Yeah, well, that is the nature of the job.
It should be up to almost a year. If I'm
A year plus, yeah, you're right.
It's good to have you.
I'm glad to be here too.
A lot has been happening in the civil service, and I think the bone of contention for many people that would want to hear the president of the Association of Senior Civil Servants speak would be, how productive would you say an average Nigerian worker is, and are there maybe challenges that probably will be mitigating the possibility of a worker thriving in the current situation we find ourselves?
Well, I think the issue is the environment the worker finds itself, the capacity built the worker, and of course, the level of communication. I make mention of these three key because it's very germane for production to strive. And you cannot get productivity without this foundation being laid. A worker has to be trained, and training has to be based on training need analysis. And a worker must also have a conducive work environment before you can now measure the level of productivity. If you have not given the worker the tools, the environment, the training, what do you expect from a worker? I can tell you an average civil servant is very productive. All he needs is the push. And that push is based on the capacity of which management have to come to play in terms of building the skill, training of the worker. So that is absolutely what is expected.
Looking at the workplace in the 21st century, what more do you think needs to be done for effectiveness from the workers' end?
The 21st century worker has to be technological driven because time has passed where we operate the Olympia typewriter and so on. Even the computer is now being sophisticated because of the IT. Like Nigeria is rolling out 5G now, we know that there's going to be sophistication in terms of technology. So for you to match the 21st century workforce, you need to be, a computer literate in a high tech, because we are getting to the phase where robots will no longer be fashionable, where we are going to be approaching work from artificial intelligence, and when you get to that level, you must have that sophistication in terms of IT before you can match that. I know that Nigerian is also bracing up for the Future of Work initiative by the ILO, and these are areas we need to look at it. We need to look at the educational system too, vis-a-vis the skill gap, where we can match. So that is what we really need to look at. Those curriculums, in the institutions, we need to look at it, not just about the academic contents, but we also need to look at the skill contents so that, if peradventure there is no white collar job, you can fall back to the skill where you can make up, as an entrepreneur in many facets. So that's why you see some young people are making it, without waiting for government. All they need is a push, the conducive environment, and a good policy that can back them up, not them to be seen as criminal or criminalities because of their exploit of technology.
Okay, as we speak, we still have some states that are yet to implement the national minimum wage. That's the consequential adjustment of the new minimum wage. Would I say it's new because I think the country is due for another set of upward review of wages?
Yes, we are just waiting around the corner that will come on board. When we met with Mr. President, these were issues we brought before Mr. President. You recall that Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria was the first affiliate to meet with the president of Nigeria ever. And we brought up the very germane issue because at that level we were able to explain to Mr. President one-on-one the challenges faced by worker. We talk about the wage harmonization, those wage relativity and so on. And you see the wage disharmony in the country where I can tell you authoritatively that directors in the core service they have not even earned up to 500,000. And yet these are the managers of government resources. So it is worrisome. And that was, why Mr. President gave the directive to head of service that they should look at it. And we are very confident because recently the Minister of Labor also talked about wage increase because of the socio-economic realities which cannot really survive the current minimum wage irrespective of what they are saying. No worker can live with this current minimum wage. So these are areas of concern. And we are, without being violent, we are approaching the government systematically, and we are methodological about our approach, in order not to down tools, but to push, and then we are very hopeful that sooner or later that something good will come.
But how would you react to state governments that have refused to implement the consequential adjustment?
You see, the truth of it is that those people came into the system they never even understand. They came into that system without the vision to drive. That is why most state governors, they cannot create wealth. Because they have it at the back of their mind, a predisposition that at the end of the month, they will come to Abuja, sit with the federal allocation and fiscal allocation committee, and then sit down and then share. And whatever is being shared, they will take it home. And then, so you can now see that revenue mobilization and fiscal allocation committee is already commission is already there, and they know that at the end of the month they are going to get something. So they are not exploring their ingenuity that would have given them much based on their internal revenue generation. They are not thinking outside the box, so it makes them lazy. So at that, and you now see them with the retune of aids, where you have about 300 and something aids, 700 and something aids, then the core civil servants that are driving your policy, you don't pay attention to them. In fact, it is even the civil servant that create wealth. Because what you give to them, if it is enough, they will bank, and the bank will have money, that can circulate. The aids we are talking about, those one will just get because it is like political settlement. And it ends there, and they wait again for another. So what becomes of them after 4 years or 8 years? They are not thinking about. Because civil service is a career. So it is worrisome that same government don't take a critical look at the welfare. What is 30,000 minimum wage that some states are not paying? It's aberration. And we feel that such state governor should go back and re-examine his thinking faculty, whether he's operating in this climate. Because whoever is operating in this climate will know that if the 30,000 minimum cannot even take the civil servant, to where it ought to be, and you are now owing. Some owe as well 1 year, 2 years, and so it's very worrisome, it's sad. And the election is coming. And the same people the same party is shopping for another vote. You see, I don't know what they take the worker for, whether they just feel that the worker don't even have anything to think. So it's a concern to us. School have just resumed. ASU have just called off the strike. The students are going back to, do they know where will they even source money to send those children, their wards back to school? This is what should concern government. But in all claim that what it's what who believe in education, all this education is supposed to be free and compulsory till the university education, so that people can even know, if I come out, I don't have work. Thank God, government have sent me to school. I will think of what to do next to support the government. But now you are at the mercy, because all of them want to establish private universities and make the children of the poor to continually be enslaved. So it's a concern.
Okay, moving forward, there's been this issue of fake employment, still talking about after even studies, there's no job employment. We also have, I'm also aware that we have a lot of people that have exited the system and we don't have new people coming into the system. That would mean that we have some workers that overworking compared to the normal hours that they should do. So how would you react to that vis-a-vis the issue of fake employment that some people have been experiencing in the country?
You see, Sharon, let me be honest. It is because the system we operate, nobody has ever been questioned. An applicant looking for work got a letter of employment. Work. Some work for 5 years, some 7 years. And all of a sudden you wake up, terminate the appointment, and say it's fake. We have report. We have reported formally to the Chairman Civil Service Commission. They are collating. Who is to blame? Did this applicant go to the table or the drawer to bring headed paper and then give himself employment? It's a concept, because when you look at, so I don't know how some people reason. It's a matter of litigation. And any government that knows that there's a leakage from any of the commission, they should put themselves and hide it in shame and see how to address it behind. It shouldn't be something that it will even be in the public domain and you call it fake. Some employment that has already been cassetted, paid. If they don't understand the legal implication, they should even understand the moral implication, because it is unjust, very unjust. In fact, we have complaint here. Some people 7 years, 5 years, collecting salary. All of a sudden they stopped, only to get a letter of appointment terminated that the appointment was fake. Whose fault? When you do what you don't supposed to do, you allow people to manipulate the system because of the corruption in the system. Instead to keep quiet and see how you can correct the mess, you are putting it in public domain, that fake employment. We will resist it, because no employment that passes through Civil Service Commission can be tagged fake when due process was followed.
So how would you respond to the fact that we have some workers that have retired from the system and we don't have new ones coming in, and we also have some that have retired and they are vindicated their appointments?
You know, the fact remains that when the strategic plan, all these things matching, government will have a strategy that said between so number of people will exit the system, so number will come in. You understand? That is how you're supposed to work in a right climate. So that they have this strategic plan. You enter here and they know when you are exiting. They will also know how many people should come in at that time. And that is why, you know, that strategic planning will also take into cognizance your payoff. So that when you leave the system, you are not going to wait for 2 years before you can get your retirement benefit. No, it's supposed to be, they have, or if they have all these records with the strategic plan, you know, they know when you are exiting with your full benefit. You cannot now exit the system and start baking. A system you have saved for 35 years, a system you saved for 60 years, whichever comes first. Because there is no strategic planning, and that is why you see it that way. And when you come to issue of elongation of people, there's nothing like that, except the management decided to give maybe as a contract for 1 year, which the civil service rule also allow that. That is what you see. Because no matter what you want to look at, there are people in the system that are very good. And, you know, for government to have trained you to a certain level and they just want to see your exit, you will worry them. So they need to re-engage you to see whether at that within the 1 year gap you can stay, whether you can bring in somebody who will match, and then you see how the system works. That is just it.
Talking about retirement, we have so many retirees that are yet to get their benefit, especially at the state level. On the final note, what will be your message to relevant stakeholders that might be affected?
You know, the good thing about retirement is that if you are not affected, you will be infected. Whether you retire now, for instance, those who retire without benefit, they becomes a burden. Even in the army, I saw the protest there, and then so you see, on all claims. So government must redefine this retirement and then make it in such a way that no retiree feels shortchanged or dehumanized. You know, so these are the basics. You know, so I feel government should have everything. Look at the welfare of retirees, understand that they are returning to environment they did not impact so that they can still be relevant.
And not become farmers overnight.
Well, you see, the good thing about farming is a choice. Because
But when it's not something you've done all through your life, there are mistakes that you just have to make.
yeah, but it's a choice. It's a choice in the sense that you know, in farming business, the law allow you to do it even when you are working and earn a living.
So are you saying
But
that workers should diversify at this
of course, nothing stop you creating what we call vegetable garden, and you build up from there. Fishery, poultry, you build up from there. And at the end of it, you'll be happy because it may not also be for sale, it will also be to feed the family. And it also be an income earning at any point in time. So it doesn't stop. Instead of you waiting to carry portfolio and then going around office looking for supplies, you know, farming is a stopgap that can close the gap for hunger.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.